So this is kind of my credibility slide and why am I here. So our partner business is a large business. We do lots and lots of volume. So we provide reach and audience and volume for advertisers. 88 billion queries a year come from our partner network. So if you break that down, it's like 2,700 queries per second. It's my nerd fact of the day. 85% of advertisers are actually opted into our partner network. So that means 85% of Yahoo and Bing advertisers are receiving traffic from our partner network. So the other 15%, whatever the reason they're opted out, it's my job to help them get opted in. So we would have 100% of advertisers. Some people ask if Bing has a partner network in Microsoft, and they do. It's a toolbar business where they try to get Bing ComScore credit, but we're a lot bigger than partners, but they don't have an actual team of partner managers like Yahoo does that are managing partners and affiliates like yourself. So we have over 300 direct relationships, and these are some of the big household brands that we manage and work with day to day. So Monster, Apple, who's our biggest partner. So if you change the default search on your iPad or iPhones to Yahoo, we get a lot of revenue and volume from Apple, Domain Media, AVG, etc. So this is kind of an overview of our business. So I always like to start off with what's the single biggest driver of ad CTR and RPM? A lot of people try to overthink it, and it's a really basic UI thing. I don't know if any of you guys want to take a guess. No? Okay. Page placement. So this is, again, the biggest driver of ad CTR and RPM. So this is a heat map study of our Yahoo Finance page. So this is, above the fold in the middle of the page, and then here on the end is the end of the page. So this is a heat mapping study, and I know this seems really obvious, but a lot of times people forget. But the one thing I try to really emphasize is that if you just draw a letter F on your site, that's the best place for ads. A lot of people think, well, I don't want to put like 2 or 3 search ads on the top of my page. It doesn't really make sense. But when we test things on Yahoo Mail, like pencil ad units, right? So you have the ad in one line on the top of the page. It really drives a huge difference. And so we want to make sure that we're always thinking about this as we're optimizing sites. For articles, it's a little bit different. Obviously, the top above the fold is a prime position. But if you think about an article, right, the user's not really the bottom of the funnel, right? There's not really like a search intent there. I'm not trying to purchase or buy anything. I'm just trying to browse and read an article. So the optimal placement that we always find that works really well for articles is right below the article, right? So the user reads the article and kind of asks, like, what do I do next? So this is an optimal placement on article pages. So different than a search page or like a home page, but this for article pages, this is the best placement here. So this is a really bad example, and you're not meant to actually see the screenshot, but when we had moved things around on the Yahoo Sports page, we saw the RPM reduced by 700% because we put the ads below the comments, right? So it wasn't below the article, it was actually below the comments. So what we saw was tons of impressions, but actually no clicks. So this is just kind of an example of page placement for articles. So I'll walk through some UI things. That's what most of my presentation will cover. A lot of these things are really, really easy to do. They don't require a lot of effort. And so we always find that combining all of these little things can drive a big difference. So I'm going to move to Prezi, which I didn't even know what Prezi was until recently. We hired interns from UCLA this summer. So I've got to, let's see, allow. All right, so as we think about UI, I always like to start off with a search box. A lot of people ask me, what's the optimal length of a search box on my page? Some people have them on the right side of the page, and they're really small. What we find is 28 to 33 characters is the optimal length for a search box. If you make it too small, sometimes you have users enter a query that's just one word, right? And if you have a search box that's too long, you get a lot of people typing in sentences or asking questions. And I know it probably seems obvious to us, but we're sophisticated internet users. But if you think about people like our moms or grandmas, right? We want to encourage them to do searches at the optimal length. A lot of people ask me about the color of the search box. We've always had yellow for a really long time. We recently switched to blue. So any of these two colors I recommend. And also, a lot of people will put magnifying glasses instead of the actual word search. And what we find is that when you have the text search in the search box, it actually performs much better. So this is kind of something as you think about the site that you work with, right? Is your search box in the center of the page? Is it on the right of the page? How long is your search box? Next is, do you actually have a search box on the bottom of your page? So this is a best practice that we always recommend. A lot of people forget this. But again, if you're reading through your site and you don't find what you're looking for, it gives the user an opportunity to still stay on your site and explore a new topic, right? Rather than them leaving the site, they can actually stay within your site. So when we add this on sites, we usually see like a 3 to 5% increase in search volume, right? So always make sure it's a best practice to have 2 search boxes on your site, preferably in the same place on the top and bottom. The next is this concept of ads called mirroring. So mirroring is taking ads 1 through 4 in the north, right? And we have ads in the east, also 5, 6, 7, 8, and just mirroring those same 4 north ads on the bottom of your page. So rather than have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, and then start with 9 through 13 on the bottom, we just repeat those 4 north ads on the bottom. There's this concept of diminishing return. So once a user gets past like 5 or 6, the PPCs on those ads are so low that it doesn't make sense for you to show those on your site if you're thinking about monetization. So mirroring ads is a best practice that we recommend. Next is related keywords. So we return back these in our feed. A lot of our partners sometimes do them themselves based on the keyword. So the keyword here was iPad. So these are another way for the user to engage with your site, to stay on your site. So showing related keywords on your ads. And when the user clicks on those, it's taken to a new page, right? And it's just refreshed. It's like an additional search, but you're giving the user those keywords rather than them having to enter them themselves. So another way we can do related keywords is the see more ads for. So this is our more sponsors module. And so when a user clicks on this, they're taken to a page with all ads. So that's a really aggressive way to show related keywords if you're interested in more monetization versus relevancy. So a lot of people ask about shading. We usually always have like a blue or a faint yellow color. A lot of people, and Google does the same thing if you look at their sites. And what happens is that there's really no best practice for shading without actually looking at your site. But the main thing we encourage is just constantly testing a new color of shading, like every 4 months. And what happens is when users are used to seeing something and then you change it, right, their eyes are automatically kind of drawn there. So we always recommend changing that at least, every 4 months or so. And you'll see like when you go to Google or when you go to Yahoo, they're constantly doing this too. You don't have to change the color of shading. You can have your ads blended in with your page. But a lot of times your TQ score or your quality score will suffer, right? Because what happens is you get accidental clicks. So people are going to the advertiser's site without really knowing it's an ad. So it's just something to be conscious of is, what is the shading on the page? The next is make obvious what's clickable. So sometimes people will forget to show this little pointer here when you're hovering over the ads. And sometimes people don't actually make the whole ad clickable, right? You just make the headline or maybe the click URL clickable. So it's always really important, just, these are simple UI things to really take a look at your site. But we just want to make sure the whole ad is clickable and not the white space over here. So sometimes we find people that want to make the whole thing clickable, but it's just actually should be the text. And again, it comes back to TQ score and making sure that traffic's converting for advertisers. So the next is site links. So we recently started testing this on syndication. So usually how we launch things on Yahoo is we'll launch them on yahoo.com first, and then we'll take learnings and apply those to publishers. So we're seeing about a 15 to 25% increase in CTR with these site links extensions. So again, those are good for advertisers, they're good for users, and they're good for publishers, right? The traffic converts better, you take a user deeper in the site, the advertisers like it, and then the publishers end up making a better RPM by having these on their sites. Local ad extensions is another feature that we really like. So it's not as high as site links, but we usually see about a 7% increase in CTR when showing the local ad extensions. That's the business location that users enter into Ad Center. The official site badge is something we started testing a year ago. So if a user enters a keyword like Macy's or Nike, right, like a strong brand query, we like to show this official site badge next to the ad. So this increases the CTR by about 1 to 3%, usually is what we find. Next is a new feature that we launched about a year ago as well called Fav Icons. So you know when you bookmark a page, you get the little logo in your bookmarks, right? So we recently started showing these next to click URLs on the ads. And what we found is a huge increase in CTR. It's really been easy for every publisher to implement. It works really well. It's good for users. It's an official kind of badge or site for the ad. So this paired with official site badge works really well. And I'll show you a few more examples of how we're using the Fav Icons. Last week, we recently tested a new UI optimization that's bolding the entire click URL. So we used to just bold the actual keyword in the click URL. So we started bolding the entire click URL, and we're seeing a 1% increase in RPM on that. We just launched that last week. And then last is, this is some too, since we didn't really realize until we had a publisher test it, but opening links in a new window works really well, and it actually increases search volume and RPM. Right? If you think about your windows or your browser, like I always have 10 or 15 windows open each day. And so if you take a user away from your landing page or from your site and you take them to the advertiser site, right, and they close out of that, at least like if you open in a new window, you'll always have your site still open there, right? So opening links in a new tab is something that you want to just make sure that you're doing with the ads on your site. Any questions about any of those small features? Yes, either. So a lot of these things we do on yahoo.com first. So the front page team does a lot of that. And then what I do is I educate publishers and I say, hey, we launched this on Yahoo last week. It's doing a 1% increase in RPM. You should try it on your site too. So it's a little tweak, or you have to maybe call your developer and say, hey, can you make sure the whole entire click URL is bolded? And we'll test it. So what we do is we usually help publishers like test all of these things, and we look at it for a period of over 8 weeks and see, like, is it really making a difference? Is it not? Like, we'll look at the before and after. We do like A/B testing with cookies, and so. But yeah, a lot of the work you can do on your side with simple UI things.
And how do we tap into your office or whatever to have that communication for all that testing? Blah, blah, blah.
Right. So if this is usually for current Yahoo publishers. If you have a feed from another provider, then usually we share these best practices through them. But I don't have like an external blog or anything like that yet. So. All right, let's see. I'm going to go back to this really quick. So another small change, that a user probably would never notice, is increased spacing between the ads. So when we move from one line to like 1.5 or even 2, I think it's like 15 pixels in between the ads, we saw an increase of 1.5% in our RPS. Right, so just moving the ads here from one line to 1.5 really made a difference. So it's just, again, something to think about on your side as well. A lot of people don't even think about this stuff, but we're constantly testing different UI features. Next is ad labeling. So before we would have sponsored results in the top right. So you probably label your ads as ads or sponsored results or advertisements. There's different ways you can do that. What we find works best is the ads related to. So changing from sponsored results over here in the top right to ads related to with the query the user entered, right? So it's kind of like a magnet, like I entered car insurance, now I'm seeing it again. Increased CTR by 4%, right? So again, you wouldn't think these like little things make a big difference, but if you want to think about your CTR and your RPS on your site, these are just, again, things to take a look at your site and really think about. So moving from sponsored results to ads related to was a good move. So this is another example of the fav icon that I mentioned earlier. So these are different ways how publishers have used these. So most publishers choose to display them on the left side of the click URL, right? Again, all these advertisers upload all these images on their backend. So what Yahoo does is we go and we crawl all of these sites and we index all of these. And so the partner would just ask for, hey, I want fav icons for these 3 ads. And so we return those back. I believe Google is now doing this on their AdSense, and AdSense for search and content as well. So I think they are testing this as well. But anyways, you can make it clickable, so it's a 15 by 15 thumbnail that you can just put next to the ad. So but real quickly, I'll share 2 different case studies before we leave. So before, this was a partner, like a local partner that we work with. They wanted to increase the CTR and just overall look and feel of their ads. So what they did was they tested a lot of these different things that we launched in different buckets, right? So they would test all of these different features by themselves, and then they would combine. They would do like A and B, A and C, A and D, et cetera. So I think they had like 50 different buckets. And what they found works best for their site was the fav icons and local ad extensions. So by doing these 2 things, again, which are really, really easy to do, their CTR increased by over 100%, right? So this was a big win for that partner. Just another example of, you can see here the fav icons there. And then last, real quickly, we'll touch on mobile. Again, I think you guys are, everybody's talking about it. All the traffic's, a lot of traffic's moving there. Yahoo talks about it all the time. But when you think about mobile, I'm sure you guys already know this, but it's making the site really easy to read, making it quick to load, right? Making it thumb friendly. So this partner that we worked with was a shopping partner. They wanted to improve their mobile monetization on a lot of their shopping sites. So before, they would still show 2 ads in the north and the results below. And the page was not optimized for smartphone traffic, like Androids and iPhones. So what we did was we worked with the partner to optimize for mobile traffic, using a lot of the best practices that we recommend. The partner also was working with a third-party provider to provide these images next to the ads. So they're bigger than the fav icons, but it would be an ad from an advertiser site. And so what we did was we optimized the page for mobile, right? And so again, it's pretty obvious, right? You show 1 ad in the north on a mobile optimized page, and your increase in RPM is huge, right? And then we show 2 in the south. So we always want to make sure that publishers are optimizing for mobile traffic, and that when the user clicks over to an advertiser, does the advertiser have a mobile optimized landing page, right? And that's it. I'm out of time. So hopefully you learned a few tricks that you can take back to your site. You can email me for any questions. This is what I do all day with publishers, so feel free to email me. Any questions before we leave? No? Okay, thank you.